What a great week it has been for wrestling. You can get mad at me now, go, you're so positive, but I've been having a great time. And how did AEW Dynamite start? Will Ospreay versus your friend and my friend, Buddy Matthews. Also, hello my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, the only review show you do need. And a quick shout out to the guy that said, Simon says he likes to be so positive, and then he gives a bunch of downs. Being positive isn't just being a wet blanket and saying, well, I like everything. It's about when you are critical, remembering we don't have to melt down and get really angry about things, because it is just pro wrestling, the most important of the least important things. Also, keep coming at me with the comments, because man, I love the engagement. I'm a 2025 man. Let's up those downs. Now there was something extra to this Ospreay versus Matthews match as well, because the rumors have started, which do happen around about every 3 months. Apparently Malachi Black is done with AEW. Now we're gonna have to wait and see, because nobody knows for sure unless you are Malachi Black, and hello if you are watching, but you're most definitely not. And here's my take on it, and of course it's going to make you cry from your seeing devices. As long as he's happy, well, good for him. I mean, imagine he turned up in the Royal Rumble, that would be super duper cool. And in terms of Will versus Buddy, there was a little bit of a story here, because as the commentators told us, Buddy Matthews wants to get revenge on Will Ospreay, because Will Ospreay beat Brody King in the Continental Classic. So if Batman and Buddy ever meet up, their idea of revenge is very different. They just went off instantly because Buddy was using his power when Will was able to get a Hurricane Rana and throw him to the outside. And of course, he got a big old dive. Well, I suppose it was more like a crossbody, and that inspired both of these guys, because they then each went for one and they crashed together in the middle of the ring. They got back to their feet and they both hit their go switches. Honestly, I can tell you this is absolutely ridiculous. Ospreay was a bit quicker here because he was able to hit the pip pip cheerio for a 1-2 ooh. And actually, when you say it in that order, it sounds like a terrible kid's song that would probably do 1 billion views on YouTube. Pip pip cheerio 1-2 ooh. Yeah, let's never do that again. It was then Buddy's turn because he tried to break Will Ospreay's back with a backbreaker when he did a big old dive. Honestly, the meteora that came after that was instant death. They then traded pump kicks and big knees, and the fans were chanting for both guys, which I thought was really cool. But Buddy Matthews was like, man, I don't appreciate anything. And he pushed Will Ospreay off the ring apron, and good grief did he go crashing into out on the announce table. Ospreay was so damn mad he was able to hit the Oz Cutter off Barry Barricade. Then they got back in the ring where he hit Oz Cutter number 2 Electric Boogaloo, and he got a 1-2 ooh. But I think that really pissed Buddy Matthews off. Because honestly, Matthews grabbed Will and gave him what I can only call a reverse GTS and this mad cob stomp that Will Ospreay sold like death. And listen, if that hadn't been the finish, I would have got it. Instead, somehow William was able to hit the Stars Clash for another 1-2 ooh. I think Buddy Matthews knew he was done here, because even though he was wiggly or jiggly, he had like a little smile in his face when Ospreay zoomed in with the hidden blade. 1, 2, 3. Will then got a microphone and said, hello, Buddy Murphy. So I was cracking up right away, because I do that all the time. I accidentally use his WWE name because I'm an idiot. This is surely where the rumors are coming from, though, because he did say, hey, Buddy Matthews, and hey, Brody King, you don't need no leader, and in fact, you're so good you could probably win the tag team titles, and hey, as singles competitors, you could probably win singles gold too. He also mentioned that he would always have their backs. This was like a tease that he was going to grow a new group with them as well. And again, if you don't need a leader, it could mean that your leader is going to WWE. That was way too specific. They shook hands afterwards because they are baby faces, and seriously, we know that Will's going to have an amazing 2025, but I hope that AEW does look at Brody and Matthews. No, it's the same person. No, it's not. They're different ones. The point is, take the members of the House of Black and yes, give them a big old push too, because man, they are talented in their socks. All that means up. We then got some video footage from everything that had gone down at Wrestle Dynasty, and that was good because it was filled with AEW guys. When we got some tag team title action on Dynamite too. And yeah, it's been a while. It's mostly been happening on Collision. It was basically Champion's private party celebrating as well because yeah, over the weekend they had another successful defense of their titles. So why the hell wouldn't you want to get down? Now sadly this didn't last very long because just as they were about to have a toast and have a little bit of a drinky poo, do you know who came out? The Hurt Syndicate. Now listen, I like Private Party, but instantly I was like, yep, put the tag belts on them. MVP acted like he was going to have a fun time with them as well before this basically switched. And Bobby Lashley looked at them like, I will kill you and drink the souls of tomorrow. Once again, this is a very weird episode of Ups and Downs. Now, it was sort of weird because the Hurt Syndicate mugged them off here and just walked to the ring and Private Party just stood there and took it. I was like, Mark, Isaiah, you do have a microphone. I think you should say something. Now listen, I am going to give this an up because the excitement I felt in my tum-tum when we even teased the idea of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin being the AEW Tag Team Champions was too much for this bald idiot. Listen, you could even sub in MVP. He can still go. And these are the kind of teasers you do want. But yes, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn did look a little bit ridiculous here because it was their big return to Dynamite. I'll just repeat myself. They basically got mugged off. I mean, they kind of helped themselves out a little bit later, but still, I think sometimes our champions, especially our babyface champions, should look a little bit strong. Doesn't make a grand scheme of things in the difference. Got my sentence structure wrong there. What an absolute buffoon. Down. We, however, did go right into Mark Briscoe versus Bobby Lashley, and these are the kind of matches I love in AEW. Because not in my wildest dreams did I think I'd ever see that. I just thought it was perfect as well because, of course, Bobby comes across like such a beast, whereas Mark Briscoe is the greatest underdog babyface ever. And Bob proved that instantly. He was like, Marky, baby, if you want to leave, you can. As he didn't go, Lashley then wrecked this dude, including this sit-out dominator. And I was like, if somebody came into my room and pinned me right now, I would let them, and I didn't even take the move. I'd just seen it. What? Briscoe's superpower, though, is that he just will not die. And at one point, he was getting a few shits on Bobby. Well, yeah, Lashley was on the outside, and Briscoe dove at him. But he dove right into Bob's arms, and once again, he just hurled him around. He really was up and down like a yo-yo when Lashley just ran through him with a tackle. Well, I think Mark had a great idea. He was like, oh, maybe I should go under the ring. And I can only presume that Bobby Lashley didn't see it. So when he did go and look for Mark, all of a sudden he popped out from under there with a chair and smacked Bobby Lashley, and man, MVP was on commentary. He had a meltdown over this. He was like, well, that's an international object. Referee, do your job. Now, people after this were acting like, oh, why didn't Bobby Lashley just squash Mark Briscoe? I was like, did you watch this match? We once again turned Lashley into a monster. Because even though Mark did get his flurry here, when he hit the froggy bow, do you know what Bob did? He kicked out at one. That was basically it too, because Briscoe then got rammed with the spear, then thrown into the floor a few times. Hurt lock. And he was done. Of course, the Hurt Syndicate then decided they were going to kill Mark Briscoe, which is when Private Party came out to make the save, and that was good. So I suppose this is our brand new tag team title program. I think you've got to capitalize on it as well, and I get that AEW is trying to focus on the OGs here, and I really do like Private Party, but this Hurt Syndicate are just the coolest people in the world. So we do want to give them the tag team championships. I'm not going to moan. Also, such an enjoyable match. That's the point of TV. When we got to what is essentially my monthly roller coaster, the AEW Casino Gauntlet. Because it really is just the best, and AEW gets better with this every single time. But I go through a flurry of emotions, because do I think they should do less in order for it to feel more? Absolutely. But do I also get excited about it every single time? The answer is also yes. And that comes down to the fact that life doesn't need to make sense, and you can go on these absolutely crazy journeys. And also, this one had mega stakes to it, because the winner was going to face Jon Moxley for the AEW World title next week. I really laughed as well because, of course, Jay White had gone through all of the fighting in order to get the number one position. But you know who number two was? Hangman Adam Page. You could see it in Jay's face. He was like, man, that was a lot of effort for nothing. It also ties into their feud, which was nice, and the crowd picked up on that. And number three was Wheeler Yuta, who continues to be the funniest geek on the planet. He got in the ring, Jay White took him out instantly with the Blade Runner. It looked like he was going to win as well, but of course Adam Page broke that up when we got another fabulous entrant, because it meant that the Cowboy was in the ring waiting when Swerve Strickland's music played. Once again, this audience came alive when the music was cut off and we got this noise. Ha ha! Because it was actually Ricochet who had decided, I'm just going to troll you all. So he is just a wonderful new character because he has become Ricky the Dickhead. But honestly, if he carries this on, he's going to have a great 2025. He was allowed to go crazy as well, and he even helped out Wheeler Yuta for a while when Adam Cole also threw himself into the gauntlet. I think this was a good idea. Once again, people came up for him, and he hit everybody with super kicks, and he got the Panama Sunrise. That got broken up at the 1-2 when Danny Garcia was in at 6, and then I had one of my nerd breakdowns. It really doesn't make a big old difference, but sometimes I think if you are the TNT champion, or you have another championship belt, you shouldn't worry about another one, because all you care about is the one that you do have. I mean, look, you can easily poo-poo that, but it's just how I feel. Powerhouse Hobbs was in next, and I tell you, the booking with this was right on the money, because he is Powerhouse Hobbs. So if you've never watched wrestling before, and you look at the man and go, well, I hope he smashed fools, bingo, he took out everyone. not for dinner. Ricochet then tried to punch him, which is a terrible idea because he suffered death when Roderick Strong walked out at number 8 or whatever the flub it was. And he backbreaked everyone. He really is obsessed with it. By this time, everybody had taken a med pack, so they decided, oh, we should all hit our special moves. And when Jay White was going to do his, Wheeler Yuta smacked him right in the peanuts. I tell you, Jay is not having a good time. That then was true for the entire pack because Lance Archer walked to the ring, and don't forget, what's his catchphrase? Everybody dies. So obviously he tried to kill everyone. It really was super fun as well because he did just chokeslam everyone when him and Powerhouse Hobbs basically played tennis with Ricochet because, just to repeat myself, he's a dickhead. We then got the meat chance as Kyle O'Reilly walked out, and that was super interesting because it meant the Undisputed Kingdom were then sort of working together. It's like, you are the weirdest babyface group ever. Number 11 was Jeff Jarrett. He got a big old pop because, of course, he is starting his last ride. But this is when someone went, we should put all the heat on Wheeler Yuta's face because he stopped Jeff getting to the ring. And they fought to the back and we never saw him again. This really did get Powerhouse Hobbs so excited though, because he turned up his meat wagon power and he grabbed Kyle O'Reilly, he gave him the spine buster, and my gosh, despite everybody else that was in this and their name value, Hobbs got the win, and now I guess he's the number 1 contender. That is some good stuff. Renee Paquette interviewed him afterwards instantly, and he even said, hey man, do you know why I'm in AEW? Because of Jon Moxley, but I don't care, because next week he's gonna be my bitch. There's also a cool extra to this as well, because when Hobbs did get injured last year, he was having a match with John, so now he's gonna get his round 2. And I really do hope AEW has a good conclusion for that match, because Hobbs should not lose clean, even though I doubt he is gonna become the AEW World Champion. But we Britney Spears this. AEW did it again. The Casino Gauntlet is great. We then got a video package for Christian Cage versus Hook, because finally that match is happening in 7 days, when Jeff Jarrett did come back to the ring. It makes sense. He was probably really sad. Given that the Casino Gauntlet had gone so wrong for him though, he had started to ponder again. Maybe I should just walk away for good. Wrestling is no longer for me. Just as it seemed like he was going to confirm this too. Do you know who interrupted? If you said Repo Man, you're my favorite person, but no. If you said Doink the Clown, I'd love it to be true, but no. It was Duke the Dumpster Drozy. Although of course it wasn't, but it was Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I think he called Ian Riccaboni a prick, so there you go, we're getting right into that. And shout out to Ian, who was on commentary. He did a terrific job when he basically introduced himself to Double J. Apparently they'd never met before. Now Maxwell is like Jeff Jarrett in many ways because he too wants to win his World Championship back, or at least get in that World Championship scene. But we can all see the deal right now. It's a little bit too crowded. So what is fun to do? That's now got worse because of course Powerhouse Hobbs is also in the picture when Max was like, that's your fault, Jeff Jarrett. You weren't able to win the gauntlet and you got taken out by some idiot called Wheeler Yuta. Friedman also mentioned that Cope is going for the World Championship when he did put Double J over a little bit. But of course, he is MJF and he's like, listen, I'm not a dinosaur, so I did have to look up your resume online. I laughed. It was then Maxwell himself who revealed that Jeff Jarrett hadn't been totally true with all of us because he has only signed a 1-year contract, and that's not for the want of trying. He wanted longer, but Pro Wrestling has basically said, hey Jeff, it's time for you to go on your way out. Friedman has looked at all of this though, and he has decided he wants to help Jeff Jarrett become the last outlaw one last time on one proviso. When you do become the world champion, thanks to me, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, I, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, get the first world title shot. It looked like they were going to shake hands when Jarrett took the microphone instead and said, listen, Max, I get it, dude. You're a legend in the making. Let's not forget you're the longest reigning AEW World Champion in history. But ultimately, this isn't the first time that Jeff has hit rock bottom, so he understands what he has to do to climb the mountain again. But more importantly, MJF, I would never work with an absolute goober like you. I mean, let's take this evening, for example. You could have done the honorable thing and entered the Casino Gauntlet to try and win a world title shot, but instead you're out here trying to grift your way there. Jeff Jarrett is not about that. So just ignore the things he did a while ago. He then also called MJF an entitled prick, which was the word of the day, and he walked off. And fair play to Friedman, he looked super duper sad. And yes, no, look, I get it. I didn't have MJF versus Jeff Jarrett on my 2025 bingo card, but when you do break it right down, I actually think this could be some good stuff. Because they are totally right in the sense the world title scene is so packed, you are going to have some other stories going on. And quite clearly, Jeff is going the John Cena Tanahashi route in 2025. It is going to be his last hurrah. rah-rah. So yeah, he has had quite an amazing career. Let's make sure we send him off with a bang. Now, I do not think he should win the World Championship, but I do think he should be this close when it is MJF that screws him over, when Jeff Jarrett's last match is him versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And actually, in this instance, I think MJF should beat him, because oh my gosh, not only is that going to make you hate MJF even more, but I would be so upset in my Tootsie Toes, and sometimes, depending on the person, well, that is how you want them to go out. And of course, yes, I've seen all this, I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett on television in 2025, and nobody else does either. And listen, more power to you, man. You're allowed your opinion, but I think you need to back that up a bit, because this bored idiot does. I thought Jeff Jarrett was so good here, and when I did stick MJF versus Double J into my brain, I went, yeah, hook it to my veins. I just think that having the legend have one final shot is always a good story. It's not like AEW is drowning in these. They've quite clearly put that necklace around Double J. I always like to look at these things from a human point of view as well, and I bet you MJF is a bit like the cat that caught the cream, and he feels like I get to feud with Jeff Jarrett on his way out. He was probably watching him when he was a kid. That stuff is cool, man, and I don't want to forget it. And then I laughed out loud, because we did get footage from the last ever Rampage when we did see the Death Riders essentially kill Darby Allin. They basically threw him down some stairs. The commentators then brought this up too, because they were like, yeah, man, I mean, we're all worried about Darby too, because we haven't seen him since. And I was like, yes, I'm glad you did mention that. I was wondering where he got. Because like Blink-182 once said, it is about the small things, and I would imagine that Allin is away for a while before he does come back. Probably wins the World Championship in 2025. Given all this though, Cope then came to the ring, and don't forget Cope did this because he doesn't want to be a dope and he wants to remind you that he has some hope. Sorry. Once again though, this is where I did do a bit of a chuckle, because he was like, listen to me, John Mox in the Death Riders, you have done some terrible things, like what you did to Bryan Danielson and Darby Allin, but where I draw the line is what you did to my friends FTR. So, in Edge's, Adam Copeland's, whatever you want to call him, hierarchy of problems, if you choke a man and try and strangle him with a bag, you like it at number 4, but if you punch his friends in the face, my gosh, you're number 1. He actually made a very good point, because maybe Moxie doesn't understand what he's getting himself into here, because back in the day, Adam Copeland, then Edge, broke his neck in a match with Eddie Guerrero. What did he do? He carried on, and let's jump forward to 2024, the Cope was in a match with Malachi Black, he broke his leg. What did he do? He carried on. He's built different. So he really did come across like some sort of warrior here. And also, did you see him in that match on Collision? I do believe that Adam Copeland is 51 years old, so he just has magic powers. He moves so damn well. It was one heck of a performance. The Death Riders then walked out, and it kind of felt like Cope felt like he was in trouble, but he's a smart baby face, so FTR were ready, and they went on the attack. And of course, Marina Shafir was here, so Cope was going to deal with her, but as always, Pac teleported in. The Pac is back. The Death Riders then lived up to their name, because they were 100% going to choke and strangle Adam Copeland, so bring down the crime counter and put a 1 on it. But of course, with what we do have next week, out came Powerhouse Hobbs to make the save. Moxley legged it too, which was really important, because now we have sold Hobbs as a proper threat. And listen, because we do have so many bodies going for this World Championship, this felt chaotic in the right way. Thank you, Dr. Robotnik. And I really don't mind AEW doing an Adam Copeland versus John Moxley match either. So many people are like, man, it's 2 ex-WWE guys. Well, they had to work somewhere in the past. But also, I just follow my instincts, man. And if we are going to have so much wrestling on TV, and you have these 2 guys, just flip and do it. So I thought this came across like a big old deal. We then did find out that we're getting a women's gauntlet match next week too, so again it ties into my feelings earlier. But Mariah May was totally up for this, even though the winner does become the number 1 contender, because she is going to enjoy watching the whole division basically dance like marionettes. We then got the best thing on the show, because Harley Cameron literally zoomed into the shot on a chair, and she was just screaming, just went bah. She also feels like she should fight Mariah May on Collision. May was like, listen, you're not going to get a title shot for goodness sake. But that was fine for Harley. She's got a better idea, and I quote, hot girl graps. Now May thought that was a good idea, but she's still going to rip Harley Cameron's head off, when for some reason, she whispered that you will feel my wrath, before she lost her mind and just shouted, feel my wrath. So let's just keep it nice and simple. More Harley Cameron on my TV in 2025. You know what? It entertained me so much. But then sort of did fall into Groundhog Day after this, because Bill Murray walked on screen. That isn't true. But given that a few weeks ago we had a 3-way in the men's division to figure out who'd be number 1 in the men's Casino Gauntlet, we then had a 3-way to do the same for the women. Why not? It was also Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale versus Kris Statlander. I tell you, my friends, this was absolutely brilliant. I do have a couple of nerd thoughts though, and the first is, if you haven't seen the skits that AEW is releasing online for everything with this Toni Storm character, you need to change that today. Like, they're not good wrestling segments, they are just good full stop, and she is so good at this, I am standing here and giving it an up. We probably should play these on TV. Secondly, though, I am still a little bit sad about this whole Kris Statlander Willow Nightingale thing. Like, halfway through this match, they even looked like they were going to shake hands, which is totally fine in terms of what we have seen on AEW TV. They have retconned that, and we've even seen the pair in backstage skits. It is just my geek brain that is upset, though, because there was one point I was like, oh my gosh, they can be the women Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page, and even when they're not in the same warrior zone, you can always go back to it, and instantly they can hate each other again. It really is based on that match they had at All Out, which I thought was so damn good and one of the matches of the year. So I'm just gonna let it die after this. I'm gonna give it the final down. I just think we could have built it so much more. But in the grand scheme of things, it also doesn't matter. Because yes, none of that will affect your enjoyment here. It was so good, you probably just need to go out of your way and sit down and watch it for the 10 minutes or however long it runs. You even had sort of like secret nuance here, because Toni Storm was playing the rookie character, so when she saw Willow do something, she would try that too, and then Kris would do something, so she'd try it as well, and by the end, she was just doing snapmare after snapmare. I mean, it's wonderful. Genuinely wonderful. Willow and Kris also leaned on that as well, because they kept throwing Toni out the ring before she's like, damn it, you can't do this to me, and she hit a big old crossbody. When I think we got to the best move you're likely you could see all year, I'll try and explain it. Because basically Toni tried a sunset flip on Kris Statlander, but Kris is too powerful, so she stood there like, ha ha, no one can take me down, when Willow snuck up behind her and got Toni Storm in the slingshot position, when, yep, she basically became a perpetual motion machine, and she did what she had to do, meaning Toni's head went right into Kris Statlander's groin. Willow Nightingale then did this with her hands. Honestly, it made me so damn happy, no notes. They then all fought so hard we got a triple down, and when they were back to their feet, we were getting sweet chick music, and of course Willow Nightingale pouncing everyone. When she also followed up with a double German suplex, the Storm went back to her old arsenal, and the most devastating move. In all the spots, entertainment surprise roll up, and don't forget recently that's been winning matches. This time it wasn't successful though, so Nightingale was like, right, I'm going to powerbomb your ass. When Kris Statlander realized, wait a minute, you don't know I'm here, she threw Willow to the outside of the ring. When she grabbed the rookie Toni Storm, the rookie I should say, she gave her the Wednesday Night Fever. Kris Statlander just nabbed the #1 position in the Gauntlet, and she needed this, because she has been on a little bit of a losing streak. I mean, you can't even get mad that Toni Storm didn't win here, because the character is meant to be someone who's a greenhorn, and honestly, we should run this back 42,564 times before they retire in 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it will be. It was truly tremendous stuff. You could build the whole division around them too. Toni also carried that on in the back as well, because she cut a promo. She was all like, oh, better luck next time, I'm gonna do better, I know what I'm doing. What a delightful persona. It all meant that our main event segment 2 was going to be the return of Kenny Omega, and I'm just gonna let you know this now, right? If you don't want a big old Simon Miller loving, anytime this guy does come out on the screen, turn this off and don't watch me. I cannot help it. I think he's the best. He really did just go into his story over the last year or so as well, and man, it is absolutely heartbreaking, because he was diagnosed with diverticulitis and he was told by a doctor, Kenny, it's a good thing you did come here when you did, otherwise you could have died. I think some people aren't actually let them set in that brains. That is crazy. Omega even talked about the fact that at one point the doctors weren't even sure if he was going to walk again, so in terms of making an in-ring comeback, don't worry about that, it ain't gonna happen. And of course, Kenny Omega basically lives for pro wrestling. That must have crushed him. He refused to take no for an answer though, but that just meant he pushed himself so hard that he kept finding himself back in hospital, to the point one day he did shrug emoji and decided, well, maybe it's not worth it. And honestly, you need to see the way he delivered that line. That must have been a bad old day. However, that's when he realized that he is flipping damn Kenny Omega, and if he can't walk out in front of fans and be the best bout machine, then what even is the point? When of course, he did rebuild himself, and if you want the proof, just go and watch that Wrestle Dynasty match. He is not the same guy he used to be though, because he doesn't care about money, power, or revenge, and he just wants to put on a show for these fans. When of all the people, Don Callis interrupted. Now, this was very well thought out, because I was so mad at him. I was like, how dare you do this? This is when we saw the glimpse of the brand new Kenny, because Don didn't even get one word out before Omega just jumped him and whooped his ass. And then 2, I was like, all right, so maybe you are just, still a little bit into revenge. Brian Cage, Lance Archer, and eventually Carl Fletcher then jumped Kenny Omega and tried to kill him, but that's because we were gonna go big time here, because Will Ospreay and Charlie the Chair came out to make the save. He wiggled it around, the entire Don Callis family ran away, which meant here, on this AEW Dynamite, Kenny looked at Will, and Will looked at Kenny, and they stared at each other, because this is big stuff. So this really was a great way to end the show, and we've essentially teased about 74 different matches we could do. And also, man, this Kenny Omega, just give him all the belts, give him all the championships, not just in AEW. If you want to make him the WWE Speed Champion, do it. You really do need to find the promo that Kenny cut after the cameras had gone down as well, because that is going to make you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. I am so excited about all of this. Any promotion is better with Kenny Omega on their books. I am giving it a massive up. This is top, brilliant, wonderful, hey stuff. Which also brought us to the end of AEW Dynamite, and I had a wonderful time with this. Again, maybe I'm just riding the wrestling wave at the moment, but I just think it's all been so damn entertaining over the last 7 days or so. So my hand does this, and I give the whole thing an up. Now, of course, I want to know what you thought about AEW Dynamite, so please do drop me a comment below, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click on the screen, which is ups and downs, for the Raw Netflix debut, which sent everybody nuts, and more power to you. Otherwise, my friends, keep enjoying professional wrestling. I'll see you soon.